Chapter 688. Feng Yuan's expression was cold and furious. Originally, she could have used this opportunity to pull down Empress Dowager Yanxi through Prince Ning's hands. Without Empress Dowager Yanxi, with Prince Ning alone, Great Chu's sacred dynasty would be in her hands in less than 3 years. Great Chu's tens of thousands of miles of territory would also be incorporated into Great Yong. Now, such a good plan had failed at the last stage. Empress Dowager Yanxi of Great Chu was fine, and they would definitely be more vigilant in the future. And with Prince Ning's matter exposed, who knew what would happen this time? His identity was equivalent to being half-crippled. It would not be so easy for him to make a move on Great Chu in the future. Thinking of this, how could Feng Yuan not be angry in his heart? Just a little more. The time, place, and people were clearly in the right place, and they were all gathered. She ought to have succeeded. Bastard! It was all this group of trash. Your Highness, please calm down. Ting Qin covered her injured chest and crawled back to Feng Yuan, kneeling on the ground again, and said repeatedly, Your Highness, we have investigated. There is indeed no one comparable to Your Highness around Empress Dowager Yanxi of Great Chu. Moreover, that poison was specially refined by Your Highness to deal with Empress Dowager Yanxi of Great Chu this time. Even if there is such a person in Great Chu's sacred dynasty, they can't cure Your Highness poison for the time being. That delay is enough to make Empress Dowager Yanxi of Great Chu lose her mind. At that time, we can add another crime for her to the harem. Your Highness, we have calculated everything. We never thought that it would fail. Ting Qin said while lying at Feng Yuan's feet. She did not dare to say that all this was planned by Feng Yuan himself. He even came here personally. Whether their information was wrong or not, how could His Highness not know? There was indeed no such person around Empress Dowager Yanxi of Great Chu. His Highness was finding an excuse for his own failure. Ting Qin did not dare to say more, and could only defend herself and blame it on an accident. Feng Yuan was extremely angry now, and his face was cold and he did not speak. At this moment, a cry suddenly came from outside. Your Excellency's sacred hand. Please come and see Our Highness. King Ning was sent back miserably. There wasn't a single piece of unharmed flesh on his body. He looked so miserable that it was as if he only had a single breath left. In particular, a certain hidden place was almost completely rotten. Seeing Prince Ning like this, the people of Prince Ning's mansion naturally rushed to invite Feng Yuan. After all, this was the heavenly divine hand that the prince treated as an honored guest. It was said that he could defeat the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Feng Yuan felt disgusted when he heard this. Prince Ning was so miserable now, and he still wanted her to treat him. She didn't want to dirty her eyes. Let's go. Ning Wang no longer had any value, so Feng Yuan was about to leave. She could come and go as she pleased in Prince Ning's mansion. Naturally, no one stopped her. However, Feng Yuan and Ting Qin had just walked not far from the gate of Prince Ning's mansion. Behind them, a series of shouts suddenly rang out. Prince! Your Highness! Feng Yuan's face was cold, and she did not even turn her head. She only thought that those people of Prince Ning's mansion were unwilling to let her leave and wanted to ask her to treat Prince Ning. Let the doctors of Prince Ning's mansion save such a disgusting person themselves. However, just as she thought this, in an instant, she was pushed down heavily from behind with a bang. Then, a disgusting smell suddenly came from the person she was pressing down on. Chapter 689. Your Highness. Ting Qin cried out in alarm. The others didn't know that she was calling for Feng Yuan, but the latter heard it clearly. She subconsciously wanted to shake off the person who was pouncing on her body. However, just as she was about to move, she found that her strength seemed to be affected by something. The aura in her body instantly stagnated, and in an instant, it dropped rapidly. Something's not right. Feng Wuan's heart froze. Mixed poison. She felt that her body seemed to have been poisoned, causing her strength to be unable to be unleashed for a moment. The strength of the person who was pressing on her body was extremely tyrannical, as if he had been strengthened. "Your Excellency, save me. Quickly. Quickly detoxify the poison in their bodies." Ning Wang, who was pressing on her body, was so terrified that his voice trembled. As ruthless as he was, he didn't expect that one day, he would fall into such an unbearable situation. He had just woken up from his coma, and when he thought of his encounter in the palace, he almost fainted again. The dignified Ning Wang, who controlled the Wei Ning army with one hand, almost covered the sky with one hand, and almost succeeded in changing the dynasty. Who would have thought that one day, he would be pressed under countless men? Thinking of that disgusting memory, Ning Wang hated that he couldn't tear the person who caused all this. However, before he could finish vowing in his heart, the palace sent another batch of people. It was those private guards who caused him to be in such a miserable state. What made Ning Wang even more terrified was that the poison in their bodies had not been detoxified. Yes. At that time, it was he who asked the heavenly doctor to prolong the effects of this poison. This way, he would have more opportunities to set up calmly, and could also see more of Yan Qi's ugliness. But Ning Wang didn't expect that in the end, all of this would be retribution on him. "Your Excellency, heavenly doctor. I beg you. Quickly detoxify the poison in their bodies. Or detoxify mine too." Ning Wang was about to go crazy. Those guards who were poisoned didn't look for anyone but him. If this went on, he was afraid that he would be raped to death by those guards. How could the dignified Prince Ning accept such a humiliating and disgusting death? Seeing those guards who had been conferred the title of Prince Consort pounce at him with bloodshot eyes, Prince Ning ignored the injuries all over his body and scrambled to escape. "Your Excellency, heavenly doctor. Please. Quick." This poison was refined by Feng Wuan, so Ning Wang could only come to her. However, the moment Feng Wuan was pushed down by him, he discovered that the poison in his body was no longer the poison he had refined before. The toxicity of the poison had been modified. Although it was still his own poison, the toxicity had been increased by too much. This familiar technique caused Feng Wuan's heart to shudder violently. However, the change in Ning Wang's and her aura was what made her the most furious. She could feel that the poison in Ning Wang's body immediately changed after coming into contact with her. And this change was the source of the mixed poison. Bastard! The person who changed the medicinal properties of the aphrodisiac he refined actually allowed the aphrodisiac to interact with the original poison in his body, causing a new change to occur. Another extremely powerful and tyrannical poison was formed, suppressing the strength in his body. How did the other party do it? Feng Wuan was furious. She didn't pay attention to Ning Wang's words and hurriedly detoxified the poison in her body. Chapter 690. No, no, no. Feng Wuan's expression was ugly. After trying several detoxification methods, she couldn't temporarily detoxify and relieve the poison in her body. Right at this moment, the group of private guards who had been blocked by Prince Ning's guards arrived. They looked at Ning Wang and Feng Wuan on the ground with red eyes and rushed over like wild beasts. There was no other way. This group of people were the prince's husbands personally conferred by Empress Dowager Yan Qi. The guards of the prince's mansion could stop them for a while, but they couldn't kill them. Under their frenzied attacks, they finally managed to catch up. However, when they saw Feng Wuan rolling with Ning Wang, the expression and light in their eyes changed. The eyes that were originally staring at Ning Wang like hungry wolves shifted to Feng Wuan. The latter looked at their eyes and sniffed the poisonous aura emitted from her body. The expression on her face suddenly changed. A second mutation. The lust poison in those people's bodies was changed by someone and only reacted to a specific aura. Now, that aura, after the aura on Ning Wang's body mixed with her previous aura, changed and transferred to her body. The other party had calculated to such an extent. From the moment Ning Wang and these so-called prince's husbands were sent back, it was a trap. When Ning Wang returned, he would definitely come to her for treatment. The poisonous aura on his body mixed with the aura on her body when she refined the lust poison, creating a new kind of poison. At the same time, this kind of poison suppressed her cultivation and also created a new kind of inducing aura, making the eyes of those prince's husbands who were sent back turn to stare at her. Layer by layer, step by step, the other party had thought of so many things. Moreover, this arrangement of sending the prince's husbands back could completely destroy Ning Wang's reputation. This was killing several birds with one stone. The person behind the scenes who designed this tit-for-tat play was so scheming and powerful. Was it Empress Dowager Yanxi? Feng Yuan's mind turned quickly. At the same time, she directly raised her hand with a cold face and poked several major acupoints on her body, risking the loss of her strength after this to activate the forbidden technique. With a bang, she pushed Prince Ning off her and was about to rush out of Prince Ning's mansion. However, Ning Wang also saw at this time that the gazes of the poisoned private guards were no longer on him. How could they let Feng Yuan go? Since the other party wanted to escape, there was no way they could cure the poison in their bodies. Looks like this heavenly doctor sage encountered an even more powerful opponent than her. In that case, if the other party left, then wouldn't he be the one to be ravaged next? Thinking of this, King Ning's face turned ugly. After being lifted by Feng Yuan, he clenched his teeth and panted heavily as he ordered the prince mansion's guards around him, "Stop this heavenly doctor for this prince. Don't let him step out of the prince's mansion." Since the other party was unable to detoxify the poison, he would take his place and fight against the poisoned private guards. Activate the mansion's protective array. Prince Ning's voice was harsh and harsh. This heavenly doctor's poison technique was very powerful. He was afraid that the Wang mansion's guards wouldn't be able to stop him. After all, even if the other party couldn't deal with the poison in his and the private guards' bodies, it didn't mean that he couldn't deal with the prince's mansion's guards. Boz. Chapter 691. Bang! Feng Yuan had just rushed to the gate when he was jolted back by the array that was suddenly activated. Prince Ning. She suddenly turned around and looked at Prince Ning with an extremely cold and furious gaze. She did not expect that the other party would take Prince Ning's mentality into consideration. Yes, she could not detoxify the poison and attracted the attention of the prince's husbands. No matter how she looked at it, Prince Ning, a sinister and ruthless person, would not let her off. Allies and interests were not as important as her own. Prince Ning's choice was very clear. However, Feng Yuan was in danger because of this. Bang, bang, bang. The poisoned private guards of the prince's mansion rushed towards her. That heavy breathing, that figure that rushed towards her recklessly, and those restless hands, each and every one of them made Feng Yuan feel so disgusted that she wanted to vomit. Damn it! She should not have only brought Ting Qin with her just because she was sure of victory. If she could have more people by her side. Wait. Ting Qin. Feng Yuan's gaze was fixed on Ting Qin, who was blocked by the prince's mansion's guards and could not get close. Her eyes were cold and narrow. In the next second, she waved her sleeve and rushed to Ting Qin's side. The latter was fighting with the prince's mansion's guards. At this moment, she felt Feng Yuan's aura appear beside her. She was instantly delighted. "Your Highness, are you okay?" Before she could finish her words, Feng Yuan had already grabbed her wrist. "Ting Qin, you have been serving me for so many years. Now, it's time for you to sacrifice yourself for me." "Your Highness." Hearing his words, Ting Qin's face was filled with astonishment. Soon after, she seemed to have realized something and reacted abruptly. No. No. Your Highness. Ting Qin's face was ghastly pale. She had already figured out what Feng Wuan was going to do. However, before she could speak, Feng Wuan had already pushed her violently. In an instant, Ting Qin was pushed by Feng Wuan and bumped into Prince Ning, who was not far away. Just like how Feng Wuan's aura had changed, Ting Qin's aura had also changed. While suppressing his strength, it also triggered the second medicinal catalyst. After all, when Feng Wuan was refining the aphrodisiac, Ting Qin had always been by his side. Her body was also tainted by the venom. Naturally, it could also merge and transform with King Ning's aura. King Ning. Let me go. I'll leave one person here for those people to vent their anger on. Otherwise, I don't mind fighting you to the death. Feng Wuan's voice was cold and harsh. She had personally pushed out Ting Qin, the head palace maid who had served her for many years and was her right-hand woman. It was not that she did not feel pain in her heart. But at this time, this was the only way to solve his crisis. The person behind the scenes was scheming step by step. Feng Yuan simply did not have enough time to break the other party's trap. More importantly, she couldn't stand those poison private guards touching her with their dirty hands. These people, who were so filthy and unbearable, actually dared to touch her. Thinking of this, Feng Yuan's face, which was hidden under the blank mask, turned ashen. His 10 fingers under his sleeves clenched tightly, almost piercing through his palms. All right. If possible, Prince Ning naturally did not want to offend Feng Yuan, the divine heavenly doctor. Who knew what other tricks the other party had? Chapter 692. Ah. Don't. Your. Master, don't. Don't abandon Ting Qin. Master, don't. Ting Qin's voice was full of panic and fear. She looked at the poisoned private guards who were like hungry wolves, their eyes flashing with green light as they flew towards her. She couldn't help but tremble. She was the arrogant woman, who was standing beside Feng Yuan and was obviously disdainful of Prince Ning's comparison of Her Highness with Luo Qingtong. At this moment, he was like a drenched chicken. His body trembled violently in fear. No. Master, please take me away. Master. She desperately crawled to Feng Yuan's feet and desperately kowtowed out and begged. Master, save her. Save her. However, Feng Yuan pushed her out himself. How could he take her away? Luo Qingtong had poisoned her with a series of poisons. All of them were linked together, and all of them were triggered. It couldn't be solved in a short time. Only by sacrificing Ting Qin could she escape unscathed. Feng Yuan waved his sleeves heavily and directly shook Ting Qin away. Looking at the woman who was shaken away by him, Feng Yuan's eyes flashed with a trace of viciousness. He flicked a breath towards Ting Qin. Swish! She rushed out of Prince Ning's mansion. Ah! Master! Ting Qin's voice sounded unusually tragic behind her. In the next second, she was pounced on by a group of poisoned private guards from the imperial residence. The sound of silk tearing and the screams were endless. By the time the people sent by Luo Qingtong arrived, she was completely dead. Dead? In the inner hall of the Chu Imperial Palace, Luo Qingtong heard the report from the general outside and immediately raised her eyebrows. The poison she had poisoned wouldn't kill her. Otherwise, Prince Ning would have been dead. Yes. The general, who was kneeling on the ground outside, reported, but it was only a servant girl who died. The general told him everything he had found out in full detail. The one who really refined the aphrodisiac was a person who called himself a heavenly doctor. The other party had already left Prince Ning's mansion when we arrived. We were incompetent and couldn't trace the other party. Oh. Luo Qingtong's lips curved into a playful smile. It seemed that the heavenly doctor did it himself. The other party was very decisive and ruthless to kill his own servant girl. Heavenly Doctor. What an arrogant name. Heavenly Doctor. Divine Doctor. It was the opposite of her evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It was impossible for Luo Qingtong not to think too much. Heaven versus evil Divine Doctor. What an interesting person. Luo Qingtong leaned on the chaise lounge at the side, and the smile on her lips was indescribably evil and charming. She didn't know there was such an interesting person's tea. Yes. This heavenly divine doctor seemed to have only appeared in the sacred dynasty recently. There are some stories about her in the 4 great sacred dynasties. It is said that her medical skills and alchemy skills are not inferior to evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Recently, her reputation has been slowly spreading. Many forces in the 4 great sacred dynasties are chasing after her. Oh. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong became even more interested. She didn't believe that the other party wasn't targeting her. Where did a random alchemist come from? How could he be related to her? And compare her to her? The other party's strength was not inferior to evil Dr. Ghost Eyes. It was likely that the other party deliberately spread the rumor. It was all for the sake of suppressing her reputation. Then this was interesting. Why would a person she didn't even know deliberately want to suppress her reputation? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Chapter 693. Cough. You can leave first. We'll talk about this later. In addition, no matter what you hear later, you're not allowed to come near here. I have some things to deal with. Luo Qingtong said. Yes. The people kneeling outside all got up and left. They retreated far away from the hall without asking any questions. That's right, they had been reporting to Luo Qingtong from outside the hall through the gate of the inner hall. Until now, they still didn't know that the Empress Dowager Yan Shi they were loyal to was not in the inner hall. And the master they were loyal to was now, bang. After they retreated far away, the entrance of the secret passage that Luo Qingtong pushed Old Master Luo and Empress Dowager Yan Shi into was suddenly opened. Boom! A figure suddenly rushed out of it and swept towards Luo Qingtong. Boom! The surging power around the person was astonishing. In an instant, the violent waves of power rushed towards Luo Qingtong. Bang! The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered. The moment the other party rushed out of the secret passage, she jumped up from the chaise lounge she was on and flashed away from the place where the attack came from. Empress Dowager Yan Shi, no, maybe I should call you Old Madam Luo. You're already with my grandfather, so you're considered a member of our Luo family. How can you point your sword at me like this? Luo Qingtong swept over the beam with an innocent face. However, the pair of flickering bloody eyes and the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand showed that she was not so defenseless. TSK, this Empress Dowager Yan Shi was really stubborn. She obviously liked her grandfather so much, so why didn't she admit it? She helped her, but she still flew into a rage out of humiliation. Didn't she know that if it was another granddaughter, perhaps she wouldn't be as righteous as she was? Shut your mouth for me. Empress Dowager Yan Shi of Great Chu had a fierce aura. Her long hair was draped over her shoulders, and her face was more delicate than a flower. At this moment, it was unknown whether she was angry, but her cheeks were flushed red. He looked at Luo Qingtong as if he was going to spit fire. Who allowed you to scheme against me? What happened between this consort and him is none of your business. This young girl was Luo Tong's granddaughter. Thinking that this was the daughter of that man's child with another woman, Yan Shi's heart felt like it was being torn apart. She was misunderstood by that man, chased down and jumped off a cliff. She lost her child. That man was with someone else and even had a child. He had a lot of children and grandchildren. Now, his granddaughter had caused her to lose her chastity to him. Don't say that it was to save her. She would rather die than have anything to do with that man. Not to mention becoming a member of the Luo family. Empress Dowager Yan, she was furious. She drew her sword and rushed towards Luo Qingtong again. The girl's eyes suddenly sharpened. At this moment, bang! At the entrance of the secret passage, another figure rushed out. The man who rushed out had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, and his eyes were relaxed. His face was square and firm, masculine and handsome. His aura was extremely imposing, and he had the aura of an iron-blooded man with a proud and unyielding aura. He was a little embarrassed and only put on a coat in a hurry. His chest was wide open. At this moment, seeing Empress Dowager Yan she stabbing towards Luo Qingtong, he hurriedly rushed over and said, "No. Stop it right now." Chapter 694. Bang! The long sword in Empress Dowager Yan she's hand shifted, and directly slashed at a beam in the oblique direction. Luo Qingtong on the beam also blinked for a while. The pill that was about to pop out in her hand turned in her palm and was instantly taken back. As for Empress Dowager Yan she, after the pillar shook violently for a moment, she was struck by lightning. She turned back abruptly and looked at old Master Luo, who rushed out with a face of disbelief. "This is impossible. Luo Tong, you lied to me." Empress Dowager Yan she's voice trembled, with both hope and doubt. She held the long sword in her hand with trembling fingertips and said, "Back then, you didn't believe me and let me be forced to the cliff by your good brother. Luo Tong. I was stabbed 31 times. Do you know how much my heart hurts?" Hong Er was lying in my arms, his whole body was cold. He was also stabbed 3 times. He had just turned 1 year old at that time. Do you know what the chances of a child who had just turned 1 year old being stabbed 3 times in that kind of situation are? This is impossible. Hong is already dead. Don't try to lie to me. When Empress Dowager Yan she said this, the expression on her face became firm. No. It's not like that. Seeing her like this, old Master Luo couldn't continue to hide it for a while and hurriedly said, I did not believe you at that time. But I was lured into the mountains by them and was surrounded by the beast tide. When I came back from the siege, I heard that something had happened to you. When you jumped off the cliff, I rushed over. But I didn't make it." When old Master Luo said this, his heart was filled with unspeakable pain. "I saved our child. At that time, Jinghong's life was in danger, so I didn't have time to continue looking for you. Qingtong is really our granddaughter, Jinghong's daughter." "Impossible." Empress Dowager Yan she's voice was very loud. Her long sword pointed straight at old Master Luo, pressing on him step by step. "After I was rescued, I went back to Dongli country. Your Luo family is prosperous. A group of bastards. You have long forgotten me. Jinghong can't be alive." Speaking of this, Empress Dowager Yan she's heart was filled with hatred. How could something that she had seen with her own eyes be false? Luo Tong clearly said that on purpose to save his granddaughter. This man bullied her again and again. Does he really think that I can't do anything to him? The hatred of being slandered and forced to lose her son in the past welled up in her heart. Empress Dowager Yan she raised her sword and prepared to attack. At this moment, Grandfather Luo's voice rang out, one word at a time. "I didn't." He looked at the beautiful woman who was pointing her sword at him. He walked forward step by step, allowing the trembling tip of the sword to touch his chest. I didn't let you down. You're the only woman I've ever had in my life. I thought that after you died, I would completely give up on love. Those bastard sons are not mine. They are the orphans of the generals who died for the Luo family. My Luo clan's legitimate son, from the beginning to the end, is only fleeting grace. He is our child, the only bloodline of the Marquis Jinggua's estate. If you don't believe me, you can send someone to the Luo family's ancestral hall right now to see whose name is written on the memorial tablet of the Marquis Jinggua's estate's wife that is enshrined there. It's you. Old Master Luo looked straight at her. His handsome and resolute face, which had recovered its youth, stared at Empress Dowager Yan Shi. Your name is written on it. You are the Marquis Jinggua's estate's old madam, Qingtong's grandmother. You. Empress Dowager Yan Shi's heart shook. Chapter 695. Empress Dowager, this general has something urgent to report. It's about Ning Wang. Hearing this urgent voice, Empress Dowager Yan Shi's heart, which was touched by old Master Luo's words, suddenly froze. Go hide behind the screen first. She didn't have time to argue with old Master Luo about what happened decades ago. Old Master Luo also knew that she had something important to do, so he directly retreated behind the screen. Grandfather. Luo Qingtong also came down from the beam at this time, looking at old Master Luo with a smile. TSK, grandfather, I didn't expect you to be so handsome when you were young. She looked up and down at old Master Luo's appearance after he became younger, her eyes curved into a crescent moon shape. Of course. Your grandfather used to be handsome, masculine, and handsome, otherwise how could I win your grandmother's heart? Old Master Luo was happy to be praised by Luo Qingtong. He didn't expect that the pill Luo Qingtong gave him could make him younger. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's last words to him, grandfather, eat this, there's a surprise, old Master Luo couldn't help but smile. This surprise wasn't just an ordinary kind of surprise. If it weren't for this, he wouldn't have dared to tell Yan Shi about what happened back then. After all, the past was the past. She was now in her prime and was the Empress Dowager of Great Chu. She was graceful, powerful, and had authority. He was a bad old man who hurt her like that back then. What right did he have to mention the past to her? This time, if it weren't for Luo Qingtong accidentally exposing Yan Shi's feelings for him, coupled with the catalyst of the poison of love, and the fact that he became younger, old Master Luo would never have said the words that were like a confession. He would bury this matter in his heart forever and stay by Empress Dowager Yan Shi's side for a lifetime until his lifespan was exhausted and he died happily. He would not say a single word to Yan Shi. He would only watch as the woman he loved the most proudly and honorably sat in the most honorable position in Great Chu. It didn't matter if she hated him or tortured him, he wouldn't say it out loud and disturb her life at this moment. Luo Qingtong looked at grandfather Luo's smug face and couldn't help but twitch her lips. She wondered what her grandfather would do if he knew that there was a time limit to the effects of the medicine. The pill that Luo Qingtong refined for grandfather Luo was the youthful rejuvenation pill that she saw in a secret manual of a certain sect in her previous life. It was said that the sect had the foundation of immortal cultivation, and in the past, immortals had ascended. However, on Earth in the 24th century, spiritual energy was declining, technology was advanced, and supernatural abilities were born. Immortal cultivation was just a legend, and could only be a legend. Chapter 696. Luo Qingtong looked at her grandfather's happy appearance and really couldn't bear to tell him this cruel fact. Let him be happy. As for the medicinal pill, after she dealt with the matter here, she would choose a time to go to the main city of the Black Field of the Great Chu sacred dynasty to see if she could find that medicinal herb. Or find a medicinal herb that could perfectly replace the medicinal properties. The medicinal pill she refined before was lacking in medicinal properties, so the effect was not lasting. While Luo Qingtong and Luo Lei were talking in low voices behind the screen, in the inner hall, Empress Dowager Yan Shi looked at the general she summoned in and asked with a frown, "What happened to Prince Ning?" Speaking of Prince Ning, Empress Dowager Yan Shi's face was cold. This time, she was poisoned by the love poison, and it was inseparable from Prince Ning's arrangement. When she just rushed out, she was affected by that man's matter too much and forgot about Prince Ning for a while. She didn't know what the other party did when she was poisoned. However, after Empress Dowager Yan Shi asked, she didn't expect that the general's words were completely out of her expectations. Empress Dowager, Prince Ning's conspiracy this time was exposed and counteracted by you. He has completely gone crazy. Knowing that he can no longer get the throne, he announced the decree that the late emperor left for you, allowing you to leave the palace and remarry after his death. He distorted it and announced to all sides, saying, the general gritted his teeth and said, saying that he is willing to comply with the late emperor's edict and support you as the Empress Dowager to find a husband and remarry. What? Empress Dowager Yan Shi stood up abruptly and looked at the general kneeling on the ground. She said in disbelief, Prince Ning did this. Is he crazy? Wasn't Prince Ning crazy? He failed to plot against Empress Dowager Yan Shi with lascivious poison, but he got himself involved. Now, the whole imperial court knew that he colluded with outsiders and brought the private guards of the prince's mansion into the palace with the intention of taking advantage of the Empress Dowager's assassination. In the end, he reaped what he sowed and harmed himself. He was pressed down by a group of men. So many people inside and outside the palace witnessed it. And the group of old officials that he had brought with him. Under such circumstances, Ning Wang would never be able to turn over a new leaf. Even if he had the chance to clear his name, it would be impossible for him to ascend to the throne. What's more, the mistake he made this time was enough for Empress Dowager Yan Shi to unite with all the ministers to strip him of all his real power and status. It was impossible for him to make a comeback. Therefore, King Ning went crazy. After discovering that he couldn't win against Empress Dowager Yan Shi, he directly ordered his subordinates to spread the news of the Empress Dowager's marriage. He couldn't get the throne of Great Chu, right? Then he would destroy it. The Empress Dowager was looking for a husband. Anyone with ambition and power would not let go of such an opportunity to enter the Great Chu. What's more, King Ning even mentioned the late emperor's edict. Those people had even more reason to attack. As long as he could become the Empress Dowager's husband, wouldn't it be justified for him to intervene in the political affairs of Great Chu? At that time, even if Empress Dowager Yan Shi and the ministers tried to stop him, they might not be able to stop him. King Ning wanted to turn Great Chu upside down. Since he couldn't get the throne, then Yan Shi and the others wouldn't have it easy either. Chapter 697. Bastard. Empress Dowager Yan Shi was furious and clenched her teeth. Ning Wang's move was too ruthless. If it was not handled well, the entire Great Chu Empire would be completely overturned. From then on, the throne would change hands, and the entire Great Chu Empire would be in someone else's hands. When did the news spread? How many people know now? Empress Dowager Yan Shi asked with the last glimmer of hope. If not many people knew, she would rather take the risk of Great Chu Empire's turmoil and mobilize the Holy Capital's army to directly wipe out Ning Wang's faction. The reason why she had not done so before was that even if she was the Empress Dowager, she was still an outsider. Killing a member of the royal bloodline would incur the wrath of others. Ning Wang's faction was not weak. If she seized this opportunity to counterattack, she would put herself in danger. But now that Ning Wang was desperate to such an extent, Empress Dowager Yan Shi could not care so much. But as soon as she spoke, the general shook his head and said, "There's no other way. Empress Dowager, Ning Wang is really going all out this time. His messages are sent out in all directions. Now, the main cities of the four great sacred dynasties already know about this." Ning Wang had completely put all his eggs in one basket and acted without any scruples. Naturally, he would not give Empress Dowager Yan Shi time to cover up. When the general received the news, it had already spread all over the world. That was why he hurriedly entered the palace and even ignored the Empress Dowager's decree not to enter the inner palace and asked for an audience outside. The impact of this matter was really too great. If they were not careful, the Great Chu Empire would be in danger of being destroyed. While Empress Dowager Yan Shi and the general were talking, Luo Qingtong and grandfather Luo also heard the matter clearly from behind the screen. Oh my God! This Ning Wang is quite ruthless in his work. He actually spread this news directly. This time, your grandma is in trouble. Little Pig said in Luo Qingtong's mind. Whether it's trouble or a good thing, it's still unknown. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile. Empress Dowager looking for a husband. Wasn't this a ready-made opportunity for her grandfather? If it wasn't for this, with his grandfather's temperament, he didn't know how long he would have to spend with Empress Dowager Yan Shi. After all, although the misunderstanding had been resolved, with his grandmother's current status, it would not be easy for his grandfather to win her heart. But everything had been resolved. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she turned to look at old Master Luo beside her. Sure enough, he saw the old man, who had been showing off and complacent just now, gnashing his teeth for a while. He looked very irritated and uneasy. Chapter 698. Just thinking about it made old Master Luo feel too selfish to open his mouth. But if he didn't say it, was he just going to watch her be with someone else? Old Master Luo's face turned blue in an instant. He circled around Empress Dowager Yan Shi for a while, looking at the woman again and again, but he couldn't open his mouth. Enough. Empress Dowager Yan Shi was annoyed when she saw him like this. After this reunion, this man had changed too much from before. Who was he trying to show this abandoned look to? Who was the one who was hurt deeply back then? If this man had cared a little more about her before, valued her a little more, she wouldn't have been forced to such a point by his brothers. Thinking of this, Empress Dowager Yan Shi was depressed and couldn't help but lift her leg to kick him. Get out of my way. Seeing him like an abandoned puppy, she was annoyed. Empress Dowager Yan Shi glanced at Luo Qingtong next to her, her gaze indescribably complicated. This time, it was you who did it. Empress Dowager Yan Shi had just learned from the general what happened in the palace when she was not there. She didn't expect Ning Wang's mind to be so vicious. What he used on her was not an aphrodisiac at all, but an extremely violent aphrodisiac. Hearing the general say that Ning Wang reaped what he sowed, Empress Dowager Yan Shi understood this point at once. In this way, it was her granddaughter who saved her. If she hadn't brought Luo Tong here, she was afraid that under her forced poisoning, her mind would have completely disappeared and she would have fallen into an unbearable situation like Ning Wang. Not to mention, she also solved all the future troubles for her and removed Ning Wang, who was the biggest threat to her. Such a girl was her granddaughter. Was she the daughter of the little child she thought had died? Ah. What's the matter? Is it about the aphrodisiac? Old Master Luo still didn't understand the situation. Hearing this, he thought that Yan Shi still wanted to settle accounts with Luo Qingtong, so he suddenly said nervously. Yan Shi, don't blame Qingtong. She also did it for our good. Grandpa Luo originally wanted to say it for my own good, but after thinking about it, he still added the word us. In fact, he also felt that his granddaughter was lying to him when she told him that she couldn't cure the poison in Yan Shi's body. It was all for the sake of creating opportunities for him. But he didn't dare to say this in front of Yan Shi. Shut up. When Empress Dowager Yan Shi heard him talk about the love poison and how it was for their own good, her face flushed red. She gritted her teeth and glared at him coldly. This has nothing to do with you. Get out of my way. Yes, old Master Luo curled into a ball. His tall and handsome body silently shrank to the side. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she watched from the side. Grandpa, is it really okay for you to be so afraid of Grandma? She was thinking when she suddenly heard Empress Dowager Yan Shi's voice. This time, it's all thanks to you. Empress Dowager Yan Shi's lips moved. Luo Qingtong felt that she seemed to want to ask something, but in the end, she didn't ask. She only said to Luo Qingtong, "You also heard the news just now. Now is an eventful time in Great Chu. It's not convenient for me to keep you here. You." Chapter 700. Grandpa Luo froze at her words. Luo Qingtong's words poked at Grandfather Luo's Achilles heel. Especially the last sentence. How could he turn back into that old man again? Thinking of Yan Shi's beauty, then thinking of his sunset days, old Master Luo's lips moved. In the end, he didn't say anything and his entire spirit collapsed. Let's go. If he could maintain his current appearance, he could hold on a little longer, but I'm not worthy of her. Grandfather Luo said with a dispirited face. He was useless. If only he hadn't died because of Yan Shi's death and neglected his cultivation. In this way, the gap between him and Yan Shi wouldn't be so big. So big that he didn't have the face to stand by her side and tell all those who coveted her that this was his woman. So big that he couldn't stop the Empress Dowager's marriage from happening and couldn't share her worries. Otherwise, why would he have to separate from her? He was useless. Let's go. Old Master Luo walked out in silence. Luo Qingtong pulled him and said with a smile, "Grandfather, don't be sad. We're just leaving temporarily. Believe me, we'll definitely give Grandmother a big surprise." Leave. It was just a temporary measure. Luo Qingtong had already thought about what to do. When the time came, everyone would be surprised. What a joke, she was Luo Qingtong's grandmother, how could she marry someone else? Ning Wang wanted to scheme against Empress Dowager Yan Shi, but he had to see if she agreed or not. Speaking of which, she might have to thank him for his crazy actions. Otherwise, how could her grandfather have such a good opportunity to be together with Empress Dowager Yan Shi openly? Qingtong, don't comfort Grandfather. Grandfather Luo waved his hand weakly. Grandfather isn't in the mood to joke with you. Leaving Yan Shi made Grandfather Luo's whole heart feel like it was hollowed out. Luo Qingtong's words couldn't make him happy. It wasn't that he doubted his granddaughter's ability, but he was like this, AI. Forget it. Old Master Luo shook his head with a bitter smile and followed Luo Qingtong out with his head down. Luo Qingtong looked at him and raised her eyebrows. She didn't continue to speak. Grandpa would know when the time came. She, Evil Eye, would never lie. The two of them left the inner hall together. Outside, there were already people arranged by Yan Shi waiting for them. Looking at the group of people, Grandfather Luo's smile became even more bitter. It seemed that Yan Shi would not feel at ease until she saw them leave. Let's go. He looked at the group of people and his lips moved. In the end, he only said these two words. Because the woman he loved deeply would not listen to what he wanted to say. Schwa. When they left the Chu palace, Luo Qingtong took Grandfather Luo out of the Chu sacred capital and came to the foot of a barren mountain in the suburbs. She raised her hand and summoned the spirit ship. Grandfather, let's go. Grandfather Luo responded in a low voice and followed her into the spirit ship with a dazed expression. Before entering, Luo Qingtong looked meaningfully in the direction they came from. There, a faintly discernible figure had been following them closely. Looking at the figure in the distance, Luo Qingtong's smile was evil and charming. In the next second, her mind moved. In an instant, the entire huge spirit ship swept up. Chapter 701. Bang! While Luo Qingtong was heading to the main city of the Black Field, in a magnificent mansion in a city far away from the holy land of the Empire of Qin. Feng Wuan's figure appeared in a sorry state, and then fell heavily to the ground. Your Highness. Seeing this scene, the people who were left behind in the mansion immediately rushed over and hurriedly tried to help her up. But she slapped them away with her sleeve. Get lost. Don't touch me. Feng Wuan was angry and hateful. She had never suffered such a great humiliation. When she thought of those poisoned private guards pouncing on her with greedy eyes, she felt a wave of disgust. As a result, she couldn't stand the touch of her subordinates. Now, she only wanted to ruthlessly rub off the layer of skin on her body. Feng Wuan did not forget that she was still touched by those disgusting people even though she tried her best to avoid them. It was the person who hid behind the scenes and planned all this. This could not be the work of Empress Dowager Yan Shi of the Great Chu. It was that person. That person who broke the trap she lured Prince Ning to do and returned all the poison and schemes to her, that expert in refining medicine hidden in the Great Chu Palace. Who was it? She had never heard that the Great Chu imperial family had raised such an expert. If there was such a person, Prince Ning would not have been so unguarded. Who was it that ruined her plans? Feng Wuan thought for a while and gritted her teeth. Your Highness, the group of people who were fiercely pushed away knelt beside Feng Wuan, trembling with fear. Your Highness, we did not protect you well. Your Highness, are you hurt? The leading powerhouse cautioned cautiously. In fact, they were all ordered to do things by Feng Wuan. The latter only felt that victory was in his hands this time, and thinking of his identity as a divine heavenly doctor, he only brought Ting Qin with him. Who would have thought that in the end, she would fall so badly? Even she almost died in Prince Ning's mansion. If she had not sacrificed Ting Qin, she would not have been able to get out this time. After all, if the person who set the trap was sure that she was in Prince Ning's mansion, how could he not take any action? Thinking of this, Feng Wuan's face turned ugly. Ever since she had revealed her innate talent, she had never suffered such a huge loss again. Not to mention that she had previously boasted to Ning Wang that no one would be able to detoxify the aphrodisiac that she had refined. In the end, his face was slapped swollen in the blink of an eye. Investigate. Feng Wuan's voice seemed to contain invisible coldness and resentment. Find out which alchemist is hiding behind Empress Dowager Yan Shi of Great Chu this time. I want to see who dares to go against me. The other party's poison arts were top-notch and extremely stunning. Feng Wuan admitted his inferiority. If the other party was willing to submit to her and become a dog crawling at her feet, she was willing to spare the other party's life. Otherwise, that person could only wait to die. Ruining her plans was simply unforgivable. Feng Wuan's voice was extremely gloomy and cold. The people kneeling below were shocked when they heard it, and immediately responded in unison. How long had it been since the graceful and noble Her Highness had been so angry? Thinking of the news that they had inquired about in Great Chu's sacred capital, everyone's hearts suddenly quivered. They did not dare to think deeply about what Her Highness had encountered in this process. Prince Ning, aphrodisiac. Ting Qin who did not return, in addition to Her Highness's intense reaction to their touch just now, everyone felt that they seemed to have spied on an extremely terrifying truth. As long as you marry her, you will be able to interfere in the political affairs of Great Chu. At that time, even if Empress Dowager Yan Shi and the other officials stop us, they won't be able to stop us. Your Highness, don't you just lack an opportunity to do so openly? Now, King Ning has delivered it to us. Your Highness, you don't have to worry that the failure of the previous plan will affect our plan to seize Great Chu. The leader of the group said with a smile on his face. A smile slowly bloomed on Feng Wuan's face. The cold and gloomy appearance from before was suddenly swept away. That's right. Her expression was calm and graceful as she leaned on the imperial consort's chair behind her. Chapter 703. This is indeed a great opportunity for us. And it's even better than ours. Helping Prince Ning deal with Empress Dowager Yan Shi, then controlling Prince Ning and slowly plotting to take over Great Chu, how could it be better than becoming the husband of Great Chu's Empress Dowager and directly taking over Great Chu? I didn't expect that this failure would actually help us a lot. Prince Ning's desperate move was well done. Very well. Feng Wuan's eyes were calm, and she smiled proudly. Send an order back to the country immediately. Let Father order 7th Imperial Uncle to take over this matter and come to Great Chu's sacred capital. She wanted to see how Empress Dowager Yan Shi and the person behind her would stop her overt plot this time. She was determined to take over Great Chu. No one could stop her. From Great Chu, the 4 dynasties of the eastern region would be in her bag. She would prove that she, Feng Wuan, was the only person in the world who was worthy of that man. Swoosh! Just as Feng Wuan was feeling proud in her heart, outside the main city of the Black Field of the Great Chu's sacred dynasty, Luo Qingtong's spirit boat approached the surging road to the underworld. Consistent with the rumors, the road to the underworld outside the main city of the Black Field was overflowing with a terrible aura that was enough to kill experts below the martial emperor level. Luo Qingtong looked at the surging road to the underworld and raised her eyebrows, thinking about whether to use the ring that Yi Qianxian gave her. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared outside her spirit boat. The next second, a token was thrown out by the other party, which swept into the main city of the Black Field ahead. Open the 9 gates. That person's voice coldly passed into the main city of the Black Field. The guardian of the Black Field's main city. Receiving the token that rushed over, in an instant, the entire main city of the Great Chu's sacred dynasty's Black Field was in an uproar. It's the guardian of the main city. Open the 9 gates. Could it be that the Lord has come? Voices rang out from the city lord's mansion. In an instant, many figures suddenly rose from the city lord's mansion of the main city. Open the 9 gates. Quick! Welcome the High Lord. Everyone, welcome him. Activate the 4 directions beacon command. Swish! Swish! As everyone's voices rang out, in the next second, streaks of incomparably dazzling light suddenly soared from all directions of the Black Field main city. It caused the entire city, which was as large as the sacred capital of Great Chu, to instantly shake. Oh my God, what happened? Everyone in the main city of Black Field stared at the scene with their mouths agape. Suddenly, someone reacted and shouted, Black Field Ming Zun. Open all 9 gates. Everyone in the Black Field is coming out. It's Ming Zun from the Black Field. That Supreme from the Black Field is here. Rumble. Chapter 704. The High Lord has ordered that you will be treated the same as him. It doesn't matter if we aren't here, but if we are, you will not be slighted. When the Black Field powerhouse heard her voice, he tilted his head slightly and looked in her direction. He bowed respectfully and said, Evil Doctor, don't worry. It's okay to let those people misunderstand. There is a shielding array above the Black Field's main city. Evil Doctor, you can enter the city without any scruples. In the eyes of the Black Field powerhouse, it didn't matter if others misunderstood or not. What mattered was that Luo Qingtong could not be slighted in the slightest. Let the future mistress of the Black Field walk into the city. Since he was here, he naturally couldn't let Luo Qingtong be slighted like this. Luo Qingtong looked at him, speechless for a while. Fine. Since it was that man's order, then she would enter the city. Fortunately, her reputation as evil Dr. Ghost Eye wasn't weak. She was worthy of being welcomed by everyone when she opened the 9 gates. Thus, under everyone's gaze, Luo Qingtong's spirit ship drove directly into the Black Field's main city. The people in the Blackfield's main city lord's mansion only realized that it wasn't their high lord after Luo Qingtong brought grandfather Luo down from the ship. It was their future mistress, evil Dr. Ghost Eye, who was extremely popular in the Blackfield and even in the true Spill continent. Evil Doctor. In the Blackfield's main city lord's mansion, a group of people respectfully bowed to Luo Qingtong and grandfather Luo, who had just disembarked from the ship. Luo Qingtong nodded and followed them into the room prepared for her. Then, she waved them away. After everyone left, old Master Luo, who had been dumbfounded and had even forgotten his soul, suddenly jumped up. He rushed to the door and closed it. Then, he pulled Luo Qingtong and asked in a low voice, "Qingtong, what's going on? Why is your status in the Blackfield so high?" Old Master Luo was really frightened. He knew that his precious granddaughter was very capable and talented. She was also the respected evil Dr. Ghost Eyes of the Blackfield. However, when all 9 gates were opened and everyone welcomed him, the entire Blackfield main city was shaken. This was a treatment that only underworld venerables could enjoy. Thinking of the man who had single-handedly created the Blackfield and was regarded as a god, Grandpa Luo's heart was filled with anxiety. "Qingtong, that Blackfield Mingzun, don't tell me he's thinking about you." When he thought about the inheritance that his granddaughter had obtained from the 9 Magi Mountain and the powerful abilities that she had displayed, he was instantly filled with worry. His granddaughter's abilities were really too tempting. What if underworld venerables from the Blackfield came for her abilities and wanted to control her? As she thought about it, she summoned the people from the city lord's office of the Blackfield main city and asked them to announce that she was looking for a certain medicinal ingredient. They also stated that the other party could raise any conditions as long as the Blackfield could fulfill them. In addition, Luo Qingtong asked the people in the main city of the Blackfield to help her find everything that had the aura of the Saint Realm. To put it simply, it was a saint artifact. It would be best if it was a broken saint artifact. Luo Qingtong had an experiment to do. If she could succeed, it would be very beneficial to her own strength. "Woman, don't tell me you want to do that." Little Pig's eyes widened as he listened to her instructions. He vaguely realized what Luo Qingtong wanted to do. Oh my god. This woman wouldn't really be that crazy, right? Chapter 706. While Luo Qingtong was instructing the people of the Blackfield to find something for her, Feng Wuan also received news from her subordinates. Underworld Venerable is in Great Chu's Blackfield main city. In a city near Great Chu's holy capital, Feng Wuan, who was waiting for people from Great Yong, looked at the news in her hands and couldn't help but feel her heart sway. Underworld Venerable of the Blackfield, thinking of that valiant and handsome man, Feng Wuan's heart couldn't help but beat rapidly. She really liked him. But Underworld Venerable of the Blackfield didn't care about anyone who approached him. As the first princess of Great Yong, she had used the name of Great Yong's holy dynasty to seek an audience with him several times, but she had never succeeded. Underworld Venerable of the Blackfield was unpredictable and unpredictable. No one knew where he would suddenly appear. Generally, by the time they knew, he would have already left. Feng Wuan had tried to track him down before, but every time she heard the news, he had already left. This time, he seemed to be staying in the Blackfield main city for a while. Feng Wuan looked at the news in her hands. It was the news from the Blackfield's main city lord's mansion. Suddenly, her heart stirred. This should be something that Underworld Venerable needed. Otherwise, why would the city lord's mansion not buy it earlier or later, but when Underworld Venerable of the Blackfield arrived? Feng Wuan looked at the medicinal herbs written on it. Heavenly Water Jade Heart Lotus, she just happened to have one in her hands. It was very likely that it was the only one in true Spill continent. This was because this Heavenly Water Jade Heart Lotus was so precious that it wasn't a treasure that could appear in true Spill continent. Its spiritual energy was so abundant that it was even above those treasures that appeared in the world. Feng Yuan had also obtained it because of that lucky chance. And because of that lucky chance, she knew some of the secrets hidden in True Spill Continent. At the same time, she began to believe that she was the destined daughter of this world. Underworld Venerable, needs this thing. Feng Yuan tapped her 10 fingers, her willowy eyebrows furrowed. It was said that this celestial aqua jade heart lotus had the miraculous effect of retaining one's youthfulness forever. Feng Yuan kept it in his hands because he was preparing to use it. But now, the Blackfield Underworld Supremacy was looking for this thing. This was a rare opportunity for her to meet him. With that thought in mind, Feng Yuan gritted his teeth. He directly took out the heavenly water jade heart lotus from his Sumra spiritual artifact and wrapped it in an exquisite jade box. Then, he walked out of the room. To Great Chu Blackfield's main city. She didn't believe that she wouldn't be recognized by Ming Zun in the Blackfield with her ability and strength. If evil Dr. Gui Tong could use his identity as a doctor to attract him, he could do the same. Wearing the disguise of a heavenly medical sage, Feng Yuan's eyes hidden behind the white jade mask were cold. She would prove to the Blackfield Ming Zun that evil Dr. Ghost Eye was not his only choice. He was not inferior to the other party. There was even a chance that he would win. Ming Zun valued and cherished evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She would snatch it all away. Yes. All of his subordinates responded and followed beside Feng Yuan. Of course, only a few of them openly followed behind Feng Yuan. As for the others, they were all hidden in the shadows, protecting Feng Yuan's safety. After nearly being plotted against, Feng Yuan had become much more cautious. He no longer dared to be as arrogant as before. Schwa. Chapter 707. Blackfield's main city. After Luo Qingtong left the matter to the city lord's mansion's people, she flashed into the 9-story exquisite pagoda. In the space of the 9-story exquisite pagoda's first floor, Snowball's body was curled up into a ball. It was wrapped in a dense white light as it floated in the sky above the first floor of the 9-story exquisite pagoda. This fellow is still transforming. Little Pig looked at the white jade ball floating in the sky and muttered with an envious expression. I don't know what it ate in the far west wilderness. After absorbing so much powerful soul power, it still doesn't show any signs of awakening. Little Pig said with an indescribable envy and jealousy in his heart. This little white ball was really too lucky. Generally speaking, the stronger the strength and the nobler the bloodline of a divine beast, the longer it would take for it to transform. However, Snowball had absorbed the 100 Ghosts banner that Luo Qingtong obtained from Shi Qingqing. The soul power contained in it was extremely powerful and enormous. After all, even if it was a damaged holy tool, the 100 Ghosts banner was just like its name. It contained an unknown amount of dead souls' power. Although it didn't contain the souls of experts above the sage realm, it had plenty of souls below the sage realm. Snowball had absorbed so much soul power, but it still didn't show any signs of awakening. Obviously, the amount of energy it needed to transform this time was too enormous. The soul power contained in the 100 Ghosts banner couldn't satisfy it. It seemed that Luo Qingtong had to continue working hard to find more things that contained soul power if she wanted it to awaken as soon as possible. Whoosh! Luo Qingtong raised her hand and summoned the 100 Ghosts banner. The soul power contained in this damaged holy tool had been completely absorbed by Snowball. It had lost all of its power. Unless it could collect more souls and nourish it again, this holy tool was equivalent to being crippled. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't let it be crippled. She would even repair the damage of this holy tool. It would be of great use to her in the future. However, that was a matter for the future. As for now, Luo Qingtong looked at the 100 Ghosts banner that was hanging dejectedly in front of her. A bloody light flickered in her eyes. In the next second, Luo Qingtong saw all of the 100 Ghosts banner's structure and material composition, as well as the lingering aura within it. The girl's pupils were as red as blood. They were like extremely bright and dazzling red jade embedded in her white eyes. They were filled with a bewitching and beautiful beauty. Whoosh! Being stared at by Luo Qingtong's extremely bewitching blood-red eyes, he felt like his entire body was being seen through. The 100 Ghost streamer trembled and subconsciously wanted to run away, but it was firmly bound in place by the aura of the 9-story exquisite pagoda. The 9-layered jewel pagoda was a supreme treasure comparable to the life and death duality sword. The 100 Ghosts banner was immediately suppressed by the 9-layered exquisite pagoda's aura. It was bound in the air and was completely seen through by Luo Qingtong from top to bottom. The Holy Tool's spirit banner wanted to cry but had no tears. It was one thing for the girl in front of it to possess a terrifying Holy Tool. But now, there was a second one. Moreover, this Holy Tool's main function was to suppress. How could such a terrifying girl appear in such a low-level continent? She should be a peerless genius from an extremely powerful force in the outside world. Chapter 708. She looked at the powerful aura floating within and suddenly raised her hand to draw out that strand of aura. The weapon spirit of the 100 Ghosts banner turned pale with fright. That was what it relied on to survive. If the body of the banner was damaged, it could still be repaired. But if that strand of aura that contained the power of the Saint Realm disappeared, it would really become a useless piece of trash like a fire stick. The 100 Ghosts banner struggled desperately to escape from Luo Qingtong's fingers. But with the 9-story exquisite pagoda around, its struggle to escape was futile. Just as the weapon spirit of the 100 Ghosts banner was in despair, Luo Qingtong returned the strand of aura of the Saint Realm that had been drawn away. So it's like this. The girl's eyes flashed with a bloody light, and she smiled happily. Ah! What's like this? What did she do? The weapon spirit of the 100 Ghosts banner was confused, but it had no chance to clear its confusion. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and put it back into her storage ring. Then, the bloody light in her eyes flashed violently. She felt the spiritual energy in the air around her and began to slowly close her eyes. A perfectly constructed spiritual energy pattern appeared in her mind. She even knew how to use the aura of the Saint Realm in it. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pointed forward. Her finger slowly drew a line in the air. Countless amounts of spirit qi gathered and filled it. Luo Qingtong's finger was very steady as it continued to draw. More and more spiritual energy poured into it. Whoosh! When the last line was formed, the bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes became more and more intense. She pointed her finger at the inscription pattern that had taken shape. In an instant, the inscription pattern shone brightly. Boom! The huge amount of spiritual energy that had gathered was suddenly converted into a strand of power of the Saint Realm. Borrowing the spiritual diagram. Bang! As Luo Qingtong waved her hand, the power of the Saint Realm contained in the inscription pattern instantly blasted outward. Rumble! In the sky above the 9-story exquisite pagoda, waves of spiritual qi suddenly exploded. The entire 9-story exquisite pagoda shook slightly. Holy shit! The moment Luo Qingtong made her move, Little Pig already knew what she was going to do. Borrowing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to generate the power of the saint stage. This was the technique of a sage expert. It was an attack that could only be performed by a Saint Realm expert. It was an attack that borrowed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. But now, Luo Qingtong had done it with a single inscription pattern. This inscription pattern was one of the middle-level inscription techniques recorded in the Immortal Slayer Palace. Little Pig knew about this inscription pattern. This was one of the human inscriptions. But this was an intermediate-level inscription technique. How long has it been since Luo Qingtong started learning inscription techniques? At most, it wouldn't be more than half a year. The inscription master disciples in the Immortal Slayer Palace had to study for several years before they could become a beginner. Those with better talents would need at least a year. Not to mention learning intermediate-level inscription techniques. One had to know that after entering the door, one would be a true inscription master. When one walked out, one would enjoy the admiration of countless people. If alchemists, spiritual array masters, and blacksmiths were professions that were above tens of thousands of people, even martial artists and soul cultivators would revere them. Then, inscription masters were a profession that was above them. Chapter 709. This was because an inscription master's inscription pattern could be used in almost any situation. If an alchemist could obtain an inscription pattern from an inscription master, the effect of the elixir he refined would be several times better than usual. This was the same for blacksmiths, spiritual array masters, and so on. An inscription master was the only profession that all other professions had to curry favor with. But at the same time, only 1 in 10,000 could become an inscription master. In the past, the Immortal Slayer Palace was extremely powerful and had disciples all over the world. It was known as the #1 Immortal Sect and the #1 Inscription Master Sect. However, there might not even be one inscription master among tens of thousands of people. Not to mention the advanced inscription masters and even more advanced inscription saint masters. Luo Qingtong's talent was too powerful. If the Immortal Slayer Palace was not destroyed, she would definitely be a peerless genius. She would be highly sought after among countless immortal sects and schools. Oh my God! You woman, you actually did such a thing. And you even succeeded. Little Pig already knew what Luo Qingtong was going to do when she asked people to collect the broken saint tools. He didn't expect this woman to actually succeed. This was heaven-defying, heaven-defying. If Tian Mingzi knew this in the underworld, he would be so happy that he would jump out from the underworld. Where could one find a peerless genius like Luo Qingtong? It was hard to find a peerless genius even when the Immortal Slayer Palace's inheritance was complete. Not to mention, after the Immortal Slayer Palace's inheritance was cut off, Luo Qingtong was only a beginner, but she actually succeeded. She became a true inscription master and started to cultivate the intermediate-level inscription technique. Oh my God! Even the most talented person in the Immortal Slayer Palace couldn't be compared to Luo Qingtong, right? Maybe I can take revenge for that old man Tian Mingzi. Little Pig thought to himself. Meanwhile, Luo Qingtong had already raised her hand and dispersed the spirit borrowing diagram she had drawn. Very good. Her assumption was right. With this soul borrow diagram, Grandfather Luo's strength would increase tremendously. He could use the spiritual energy of heaven and earth even though he wasn't a sage realm expert. Although the amount of spiritual energy he could use was limited, it was still a sage realm technique. Just a sliver of power was enough to make old man Luo look down on most of the powerhouses in the world. In fact, Luo Qingtong could forcibly raise old man Luo's strength to the level of a martial spirit, which was close to the level of a saint. However, that kind of strength was unstable. To Elder Luo, it was no different from spoiling a seedling by spoiling it. It was a waste of Elder Luo's talent and potential. Chapter 710. However, this didn't mean that she had completely succeeded. She still needed to find a suitable sage aura for Elder Luo and infuse it into the spirit borrow diagram. Then, she would draw it on Elder Luo's body. That was why Luo Qingtong had asked the people of the Black Field to search for the broken sage artifacts. She wanted to find a sage aura that was compatible with Elder Luo's and then adjust the spirit borrow diagram. Then, Elder Luo would be able to borrow the power of the sage through the array on his body. This spirit borrow diagram was to use the human body as a weapon and draw inscription patterns on it. Then, through the inscription patterns, one could use the power of heaven and earth to generate the power of the sage. The art of inscription patterns was so profound. It was so powerful. No wonder Tian Mingzi was so arrogant back then. Luo Qingtong practiced the spirit borrow diagram repeatedly in the 9-story exquisite pagoda. She wanted to draw it on Elder Luo's body in one go so that he could use the power of the sage to the greatest extent. It would become his biggest trump card. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Just as Luo Qingtong was focused on drawing the spirit borrow diagram, Feng Yuan had already brought a group of people to the main city of the Black Field. Looking at the huge black city in front of her that looked like a giant beast, Feng Yuan's eyes flashed and became more and more excited. Ming Zun of the Black Field was inside. To be able to cover the sky with one hand and establish an independent city that was completely under his control and that the 4 sacred dynasties couldn't do anything about. The difficulty and power of this was shocking. Feng Yuan didn't know how strong Ming Zun was, but he was definitely the strongest man she had ever seen. It was said that that wasn't his true strength. For some reason, Ming Zun couldn't use his full strength. But even so, that man's strength was already unparalleled. Then, how strong was his true strength? Feng Yuan called herself the Chosen One, so the man she was looking for naturally had to be the strongest. Moreover, Ming Zun of the Black Field was indescribably handsome, like a celestial being. This kind of man was naturally the most suitable for her. It didn't matter if he didn't have the same physique as Yuan Mo. To the Black Field City Lord Mansion. Feng Yuan's figure swept past the path of the underworld outside the Black Domain main city. With a swoosh, he rushed into the Black Domain main city's wide-open city gate. Behind her, a group of subordinates competed to follow her. At the same time, in the Black Field City Lord Mansion, Luo Qingtong had used up all her mental energy in the 9-story exquisite pagoda before coming out. Then, he washed his hair and changed his clothes. Sitting there, he rubbed the 9 netherworld phoenix ring on his left ring finger. Yi Qianren, that man, she didn't know what he's doing now. Luo 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 T Luo Tes Luo T. Although the other party wasn't by her side, her surroundings were constantly filled with traces of the other party. The protection of the Black Field, the treatment in the main city, that man had given her everything he had. This was the feeling of being protected by someone. Luo Qingtong had been hunted down for so many years in her previous life, but she had never experienced the feeling of being protected by someone like this. That feeling was very subtle. It was as if her entire heart had softened. At this moment, a voice came from outside. Chapter 7:11. The Blackfield powerhouse who came to report had a strange expression on his face. Not for anything else, but the person who came to seek an audience with the Honorable Lord. He said that he had the medicinal herbs that the Honorable Lord needed. These days, the Blackfield main city tried its best to purchase the medicinal herb that Luo Qingtong wanted. They even mobilized their connections in the Blackfield, but they couldn't find any information about that medicinal herb. They did find many medicinal herbs with similar medicinal properties, but Luo Qingtong said that they couldn't be used after looking at them. They were missing the most important medicinal property. Now that someone came to their door with medicinal herbs and specifically asked to see the Honorable Lord, the people in the Blackfield main city were in a difficult position. Because this matter was a complete blunder. The Honorable Lord wasn't even here, okay? It was Lord Evil Doctor who was here. But they were afraid that if they told the truth, the other party would leave. Therefore, they could only report this matter to Luo Qingtong and see how she would resolve it. Someone wants to see you. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. Is it because of the medicinal herb? Luo Qingtong thought of this in an instant. After all, after she came to the Blackfield main city, she told the other party not to disturb her unless it was about the thing she was looking for. She wanted to focus on practicing the spirit borrowing diagram. Yes. The Blackfield powerhouse nodded, then said, but the other party specifically asked to see the Honorable Lord. Lord Evil Doctor, you see, this. Oh. Luo Qingtong got up from the bed and put on a colorful robe. The girl's face was stunningly beautiful. Her long hair, which had just finished bathing, was draped over her shoulders, making her face look even more petite. But the domineering aura in her eyes was very sharp and obvious. Who is the other party? Why did they specifically ask to see Yi Qianxian? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. If the other party was really looking for Yi Qianxian for business, she couldn't go and see them. It was even more impossible for him to use Yi Qianxian's name to agree to anything. After all, that man was so protective of her. She couldn't possibly cheat him on such a matter. Although Yi Qianxian meant that she could do whatever she wanted and not have to worry about so much, she didn't have to. But Luo Qingtong still had a bottom line. She would never let down those who treated her well. It's a person called Heavenly Doctor Sacred Hand. As the Blackfield expert spoke, he carefully looked at Luo Qingtong's expression. He didn't know if she knew this person called the Heavenly Doctor Sage Hand. The other party's reputation had risen recently. Furthermore, with the Blackfield's ability to gather information, the expert from the Blackfield who came to report naturally knew about the rumors circulating outside, saying that evil Dr. Ghost Eye's ability was not as strong as Heavenly Doctor Sage Hand's. There were even some Holy Dynasty influences that wanted to see Luo Qingtong. After obtaining the help of the Heavenly Doctor Sage Hand, they directly spread rumors that Luo Qingtong was hiding her head and showing her tail, fishing for fame and compliments. The pills that she took out for auction, they didn't know if she refined them herself. After all, Luo Qingtong had shown her age several times. She obviously didn't look like someone who could refine pills. The alchemists of the true Spill continent had all reached the pinnacle of alchemy before they comprehended and sublimated. In contrast, Luo Qingtong's age was really too young. In addition, she basically didn't show her face, nor did she accept the goodwill of any influence. Those influences were looking for her everywhere, but they couldn't find her. In their anger, they naturally spread these rumors. Oh. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong's eyebrows shot up. Chapter 7:12. Heavenly Medical Divine Hand. Luo Qingtong chuckled. What a coincidence. She failed to keep the other party in Prince Ning's mansion, but now the other party came to find her. And, the other party even asked to see Yi Qianxian. She thought of the other party spreading the rumor that the evil Dr. Ghost Eye was not as good as the Heavenly Medical Divine Hand, and the other party's nickname of using heaven to suppress evil and holy to suppress ghosts. The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was indescribably evil. Okay. Ask her to wait in the main hall. Remember, don't tell her my identity. She would let the other party think that she was Yi Qianxian. Let's see what kind of tricks the other party could play. Luo Qingtong was looking forward to it. The other party specially came to ask for medicinal herbs because she was going to say something to Yi Qianxian. Thinking that there would be a good show to watch later, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up even higher. She tied up the colorful robe on her body. After dressing up a little, a peerlessly beautiful, androgynous young man appeared in the room. The colorful robe was extremely beautiful, making Luo Qingtong's skin look like cold jade. The evil and enchanting aura was peerless. Luo Qingtong smiled and put the Rakshasa ghost mask on her face. Then, she walked out of the room with Little Pig in her arms. Let's go. Let's go meet that Heavenly Medical Divine Hand. In the main hall of the city lord's mansion, Feng Wan's eyes flashed with surprise and determination when she heard that Ming Zun was willing to see her. As long as she could meet Ming Zun, she could let him know how outstanding she was. That evil Dr. Ghost Eye might not be able to compare with her. Feng Wan had great confidence in her ability to refine medicine. For so long, she had only suffered losses at the hands of two people. The first time was when the martial emperor's subordinate she sent to Dongli State was killed. The other time was now in Prince Ning's mansion. However, the person who attacked her was so skilled in poison. She didn't know where this hidden expert came from. It was normal for him to lose to such a person. But that evil Dr. Ghost Eye, he might not lose to her. The simplest proof was that the poison in Luo Qingtong's eyes had not been completely neutralized. Luo Qingtong's clear eyes turned bloodshot as she recalled the news she had received from her subordinates. Although it looked perfectly fine, Feng Wuan knew that the pair of eyes had been crippled. With the impurities, the other party's eyes were no longer pure. That was why she mercifully let him off and didn't send anyone else to kill him. Because it was no longer worth it. Therefore, this evil Dr. Ghost Eye was definitely not his match. Her medical skills and alchemy skills were no match for his. Thinking of this, Feng Wuan's expression became even more joyful. At this moment, a sound suddenly came from behind the screen in the middle of the hall. It seemed that someone had walked in from behind. Hearing the sound, Feng Wuan's expression suddenly became serious. She raised her eyes and looked at the screen. A figure was faintly reflected on the screen made of good quality. "Are you the one who brought the medicinal herbs to see me? What do you want?" The figure stood still behind the screen, and a voice came out from it. Was it Ming Zun of the Black Field? Feng Wuan looked at the figure standing behind the screen and was pleasantly surprised. She stood up and bowed to the person behind the screen. Then, she said resolutely, "I'm the Heavenly Holy Hand. I brought the medicinal herbs here for no other reason than to be by your side." Chapter 7:13. Feng Wuan didn't hide her ambition to replace Luo Qingtong in her words at all. She knew that those in power like to see their subordinates give up everything for them. Compete with each other. She believed that Ming Zun would agree to her request. Oh. Luo Qingtong, who was behind the screen, was about to laugh when she heard it. She looked through the screen at the white-robed figure standing in front of her. Under the Rakshasa mask, there was a devilish smile full of interest. She was wondering what this heavenly divine doctor wanted to do by asking to see Yi Qianxian. It turned out that she wanted to replace her. Those words were full of ambition. Although there was a hint of reservation and arrogance in them, she could still hear them clearly. Luo Qingtong's interest was piqued, and she decided to play with her a little more. "Is that so? You should know that there's already evil Dr. Ghost Eye in the Black Field." The voice behind the screen sounded, and it was hard to tell whether it was happy or angry. Feng Wuan's eyes lit up when she heard it. Not for anything else, but since the other party had answered, it meant that he was already considering it. Otherwise, he wouldn't even answer. Thinking of this, she became even more excited. Her eyes burned as she looked at the figure behind the screen, and she said word by word, as the saying goes, "A fine bird chooses a tree to nest in, a fine lord chooses a general to follow." With the lord's status, he naturally needs to choose the best doctor to accompany him. Although evil Dr. Ghost Eye's reputation is great, she may not be able to compare to me. Could it be that the Lord wants to discard a fine tree and not use it, and choose a rotten piece of wood that's worse than rotten? When Feng Wuan said this, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes behind the screen. Fine tree, rotten piece of wood, who was she insinuating? She, evil Dr. Ghost Eye, was a rotten piece of wood that was inferior to her, but this heavenly divine doctor had become a rare divine tree of heaven and earth. In her mind, Little Pig was also making a fuss with a snort. Holy sh*t, this heavenly doctor is too shameless. She wants to step on you to get to the top. Also, listen to what she's saying. If the person standing here is really Yi Qianxian, does that mean that I'm not a wise ruler if I don't choose her? Does that mean that I don't have foresight? Why would I choose a rotten piece of wood over a piece of rotten wood like you? Don't be so shameless. This person's skin was even thicker than the city walls. No, I can't take it anymore. As Little Pig spoke, he jumped out of Luo Qingtong's arms and pushed down the folding screen. She would let the other party see who she was talking about. Bah, shameless to the extreme. Boom. The screen collapsed in front of him. Feng Yuan thought that Ming Zun was moved by his words and became angry. She had already guessed that this would be the result when she said those words to provoke him. She had even thought of what she would say to resolve the situation. That man would definitely have a whole new level of respect for her and understand the unparalleled wisdom hidden under her identity. However, just as she was about to resolve Yi Qianqian's anger with a face full of confidence and make him admire her, Feng Yuan raised his head and saw Luo Qingtong's Rakshasa ghost face that she had never imagined. Why is it you? Looking at the handsome youth standing in front of him, whose demonic and enchanting aura couldn't be concealed even with the ferocious ghost face, Feng Yuan's expression completely froze. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Why is it her? Chapter 7:14. Where's Ming Zun? Evil Dr. Gui Tong, you don't have the right to meet me on his behalf. Feng Yuan stood up from her seat and looked at Luo Qingtong with resentment. Being treated as a joke for no reason for a long time, Feng Yuan's face hidden behind the white jade mask was indescribably embarrassed. She had never been played like this before. This evil Dr. Gui Tong was really too hateful. Feng Yuan looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. Before the latter could say anything, the black field expert who accompanied her had already frowned coldly and looked at Feng Yuan, whose face was full of resentment. He suddenly reprimanded, impudent. How can you casually question Lord Evil Doctor's qualifications? My lord is not here. All matters in the black field will be decided by Lord Evil Doctor. Who do you think you are to dare to reprimand Lord? That black field expert's expression was unfriendly. Luo Qingtong was their future mistress. How could she allow others to casually reprimand her? Furthermore, this heavenly doctor obviously came with ill intentions and was trying to sow discord outside the screen. She should be glad that it was Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong who was here. If the Lord was here and heard her words, she would have lost her life long ago. How could the future mistress of the black field allow others to be impudent in front of her? Furthermore, this heavenly doctor was delusional enough to want the Lord to abandon the mistress. That black field expert's reprimand carried a cold attack. Being yelled at by him, Feng Yuan instantly felt as if he had been hit in the head. His entire body was on the verge of collapsing as he took a few steps back. Mistress. The two subordinates on her left and right saw the situation and hurriedly supported her to prevent Feng Yuan from falling to the ground. You people from the black field are too much. How can you casually injure people? One of her subordinates reprimanded harshly. Humph. Insulting Lord Evil Doctor is equivalent to insulting the Lord. I'm already being merciful. If you don't want to suffer physical pain, then tell your master to keep his mouth shut. Don't say anything that will anger us from the black field. The black field powerhouse said coldly. If it weren't for the fact that the other party still had the medicinal herbs that Luo Qingtong wanted, he absolutely wouldn't have acted so lightly. How dare he try to sow discord in front of the Lord and speak ill of Lord Evil Doctor in front of the people from the black field? He was really courting death. You! Feng Yuan's two subordinates had ugly expressions. Just as they wanted to say something, Feng Yuan raised his hand to stop them. The face hidden under the white jade mask was deathly pale. Feng Yuan raised his head to look at the elegant youth standing behind the screen. She never thought that evil Dr. Ghost Eye would have such a high status in the black field. The power and love that Ming Zun gave her was actually so great. Was it because of her medical and alchemy skills that were praised by others? If she had known it would be like this, how could she have missed the opportunity? Feng Yuan looked at Luo Qingtong and couldn't hide the jealousy in her heart. She looked at Luo Qingtong and said, I don't think what I said just now was wrong. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, everyone says that your medical skills are unparalleled and your alchemy skills are unparalleled. I don't think so. As she spoke, she arrogantly pushed away the people who were supporting her. She raised her head to look at Luo Qingtong and said, if you're really proud of your strength, then compete with me. If you win, I'll give you the heavenly watered jade heart lotus in my hands. If you lose, you'll admit that you're not as good as me and leave the black field and Ming Zun. How about it? Do you dare to compete with me? Feng Wuan's eyes were gloomy and cold. At this time, she also saw that the heavenly watered jade heart lotus was what Luo Qingtong wanted. Since that was the case, she would take this opportunity to destroy evil Dr. Ghost Eye's reputation. Chapter 7:15. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes at Feng Wuan. The little pig in her mind was already throwing a tantrum. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and agree to her request. Crush her to death. F***ck. This heavenly doctor's words are too arrogant. Where did she get the face to do that? Is her reputation comparable to yours? Compared to you, she's not even worth a fart. Who gave her the confidence? She actually wants to compete with you in medical skills and medicine refining skills. She doesn't even know that the person who almost tortured her into a dog in the King Ning estate was you. No, I get angry when I see her face. Hurry up and slap her face. Hurry up and slap her face. Luo Qingtong ignored it. She pressed down on its pink and round body and looked at Feng Wuan. Not interested. She turned around to leave as she spoke. If you want to sell the heavenly watered jade heart lotus, then sell it. If you don't want to sell it, then take it back yourself. I don't care. What? Little Pig almost jumped up in Luo Qingtong's arms. It shouted in disbelief in Luo Qingtong's mind, are you serious? You're going to let this heavenly doctor go just like that? Besides, don't you really need that heavenly watered jade heart lotus? It's such a good opportunity. Why don't you go? Slap her face. Then you can win that heavenly watered jade heart lotus. What a good opportunity. Even if I don't compete with her, I can still get that heavenly watered jade heart lotus. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, but a cold glint flashed through her eyes. She's not worthy of me betting for her. She wants me to bet with Yi Qianxian. Is there something wrong with this heavenly doctor's brain? Even if I don't compete with her, I have countless ways to get that heavenly watered jade heart lotus. Why must I compete with her? Just to slap her face. Pfft. Luo Qingtong sneered in disdain. If the other party hadn't made a prompt decision in Prince Ning's mansion, who knew what would happen to him now? How dare he suggest to compete with her? He even dared to ask her to leave Yi Qianxian. Luo Qingtong was too lazy to pay attention to the other party. However, Feng Wuan didn't think so. When she saw that Luo Qingtong didn't accept her challenge, she thought that she was afraid of her. She immediately said coldly, Evil Dr. Gui Tong, are you afraid? Afraid of losing to me? If that's the case, then you should leave the black field immediately. Leave Ming Zun. A person without ability is not qualified to stay by his side. Feng Wuan said proudly. Luo Qingtong didn't even dare to accept her challenge, which meant that the other party didn't have the confidence to win. If that was the case, what right did he have to stay in the black field and stay by Ming Zun's side? She, the heavenly doctor, was the one who had the right to stay in the black field and enjoy her current glory. Hearing the arrogance and disdain hidden in Feng Wuan's words, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She was just about to turn around and leave when she suddenly stopped. Some people are. The more you ignore them, the more they jump around. Luo Qingtong coldly narrowed her eyes and looked at Feng Wuan's figure hidden in the white robe. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. As long as you can take out something that is worthy of Ming Zun's identity in the black field, I will compete with you. Otherwise, who are you mocking with a heavenly water jade heart lotus? Humph. Feng Wuan looked at Luo Qingtong and sneered. This evil Dr. Gui Tong didn't have any more tricks, right? She wanted to use this method to shut her mouth. Unfortunately, she really had such a treasure in her hands. Thinking of the thing she had in her hands, Feng Wuan clenched her teeth. She couldn't trap the wolf without risking the child. The other party was clearly looking for an excuse. She definitely couldn't let her run away. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.